Hi, welcome back to Halloween House. So, we went on a fun adventure and we wanted to share it with you. And, we kind of went back in time. It was actually pretty cool. When you think of the World's Fair, your mind probably goes back to the olden days, way before our time.
Way before. The World's Fairs, they did begin in the mid-1800s, and they were intended to show off and host the nation's industrial progress and also feature wonders from around the world. And the first World's Fair was in London in 1851, and the last U.S. World's Fair was in New Orleans in 1984.
Very surprising.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
So, we're actually going to talk about the 1933 World's Fair that was held in Chicago. It was the Century of Progress Exposition. And remember, this is taking place during the height of the Great Depression.
Yes. The fair celebrated science and science's role in the industrial advancement. And one exhibit was the home and industrial arts. It featured modern homes built with new innovative materials, methods, and appliances, like things we take for granted today.
Yeah.
Dishwashers.
That was a big one.
That was
air conditioning.
Yeah.
Like stuff that they just, it would be so amazing to think you'd have that in your own house.
Yeah.
The fair closed in 1934, and these homes were purchased by a Northwest Indiana real estate developer. His name was Robert Bartlett, and he purchased the homes, and he decided that he was going to use them to help promote his new development across Lake Michigan in Beverly Shores, Indiana.
Yes.
So he moved the homes by truck and also by barge across the lake and brought them over and plopped them down on the lake shore in Indiana.
With no foundation.
Yeah, just right on the sand.
Just plopped them right down.
So he was really wanting to promote this because the real estate market was just in shambles. I mean, you can imagine it's Great Depression.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Who's buying houses at that point?
So prospective buyers of these homes would arrive via the South Shore Railroad, and they were taken to the development in a Packard limo.
Ooh, that had to be like really exciting.
Yes,
back then.
I would think so, especially, with the country going through what it was at the time.
Yeah. So Bartlett did sell the homes as private residences. And in 1966, the Indiana Dunes National Lakeshore was created. And they were acquiring land and buildings in that area. And over time, this was a couple decades, so it wasn't like they got them all in one time. But those Century of Progress homes were purchased by the Indiana Dunes. They did tell the residents, the people who lived there, that since you sold to us, we will let you live here for 25 years.
Yeah, and so those occupancies began to expire in the 90s. Some of you may remember that. And at that point, the home's futures were in jeopardy. Because now at this point, the owners had moved out and they're empty. And now what?
Yeah, they're being stripped of copper. They're falling apart. The roofs are leaking.
Yeah, it's just
they were
horrible.
in bad shape.
They were just horrible disrepair. The park couldn't afford to restore them. That was completely out of the budget.
Mm-hmm. And so they were put on the Indiana Landmarks 10 Most Endangered list from 1993 to 1997. The preservation nonprofit partnered with the Park Service to try to figure out what we could do to save these homes.
So what they came up with was pretty ingenious. So they decided to lease the homes. And all the homes were leased, and four are back to their 1934 glory. So when they released these homes to these people, it's for $1 a year.
Mm-hmm. For 50 years.
For 50 years. Their lease does expire in 50 years, and I guess they have to vacate the property at that time.
And they're in charge of restoring them.
And they have to restore them and upkeep them. So that means they are investing. I think one owner has invested $2 million in a single home, renovating it, getting it back up to its 1934 glory. And this is money she will never see again. She will never. She doesn't own the home. She leases it.
So she's investing in the future of the home, the history, for us.
Yes.
For all of us.
For the preservation of those homes
That's
at Indiana Dunes.
some special love to give to the community.
It's quite a sacrifice.
And they also have to adhere to a lot of stringent requirements to make sure these homes are as close as they should be. Obviously, certain things they can do. A lot of the homes have been jacked up and a basement has been put underneath.
Yes.
And so that's where a lot of the owners kind of have a lot of their personal stuff.
Yeah, their living space tends to be more in the basement, and then the show part is above ground. So once a year, the public has an opportunity to tour the homes, and this year, 650 tickets were sold out pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
We were two of the lucky people that got to tour all of these homes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was amazing. Because they are private homes, you can take photos outside, but they do not want you to take photos inside. If you can imagine 650 people traipsing through your house, you don't want them taking pictures of you. Or
so absolutely no videos or photos of the inside.
And it was cool because a couple of the owners were there too.
Yes, and we did get to talk to a few of the owners.
Yeah.
One of them said, I think the neatest thing about living in, a glass living room is thunderstorms at night.
Yeah.
On the lake. Oh, I could just imagine something like that. That would be so beautiful.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to go ahead and talk about each home and tell you what we experienced. Okay, so our first stop on the tour is the Winebolt Rosestone House at 270 Lakefront Drive. And first off, I'm going to kind of read from the brochure that gives some pertinent information about the house, and then we'll kind of talk about what we thought about it as we went through. So the architect was Walter Scholar of Lafayette, Indiana, and he was blending Art Deco and Art Modern elements in this home to showcase the use of steel and masonry for a modern family home. Lafayette's Rosestone Corporation sponsored the house, and the Indiana Bridge Company provided the structural system, including wall framing and corrugated steel roof panels. The exterior was clad in rosestone, which was an experimental synthetic stone composed of shale and limestone waste.
And the rosestone did fail in 1950, and it was replaced with permastone, which was installed over the original rosestone panels. By the 1980s, the permastone was also failing, and rising lake levels encroached on the septic field, and the roofs leak, causing interior damage.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So, thankfully, Ross Gambrill, who was a former steel worker, and his son Joe snagged the original blueprints from the Rosestone Corporation just as they were headed to the shredder. And so their work closely followed Scholar's design. They captured the Rosestone aesthetic with new masonry panels, and they retained some of the original Rosestone around the front door and in the entry hall.
The Gambrills also restored the original steel windows, and they fabricated others to match. And in the basement ceiling, they found the wooden beams that were installed to support the concrete floor slabs during the home's move from the state fair.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was quite a find.
So as we went in, we were able to walk in the front door, and there was a hallway that took you towards the living room, the kitchen, and then there was upstairs as well. And in that hallway, you could see the original Rosestone, and it was in a neat pattern. It was really interesting to see the way they preserved that.
It was beautiful.
And just talking with the owners was cool. The kitchen, it was mixed with some antique and some modern appliances, which was also really neat to see. The views are spectacular.
Yeah, I think all the views from all these homes are spectacular. You're inside, but you really feel like you're outside.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
Yeah, so we want to thank the owners for letting us come in and talking to
Absolutely.
us because that
Yes.
was really cool.
Absolutely. So our second stop was the Florida Tropical House. I think this was my favorite. This is located at 250 Lakefront Drive, and the state of Florida sponsored this Florida Tropical House to entice fair visitors to developing vacation paradise down in Florida. Architect Robert Law Weed, he was a Muncie native, used the Art Deco style popular at the time and gave the house a flamingo pink exterior. It is very, very pink.
Yes.
Boaters on Lake Michigan have long used it as a navigational aid.
Yeah, if you're not sure where you're at, you look for the pink house.
Yes, yes.
When the Indiana Landmarks inaugurated their leasing program, they started with the Florida house, and they got over 300 calls from people who wanted that free house.
Which is not free.
They selected Bill and Marcy Betty for what we know would require an immense investment. Bill was a ham and machine shop owner and had the expertise, and his late wife had the vision. After Marcy passed away, Bill met Lisa, and together they completed the restoration.
Yes. The house was leaning toward the lake, so they installed 192 foundation piers to level it and provide a firm footing. They restored the sagging overhangs, replaced leaking roofs and falling structural elements, and replicated a missing exterior handrail around the roof deck to match the original. And they repainted the faded pink exterior with the original flamingo shade.
One thing about this one that was kind of interesting was the original plans for it were for a poured concrete home because they thought that might be the building material of the future. But because it was the temporary display, they used stucco. Stucco is not the greatest material here in Northwest Indiana or Chicagoland, unfortunately. But they make do. It also had amazing views, and there was a really cool painting that the owners had found. I don't know if they said they found it at some shop in Florida or whatever, but it was actually of their home.
And they told the owner of the shop, "That's my house."
And the people are like, "No,
the owner of
it's
the shop
not."
didn't believe him, but
So-
obviously he could come up with proof that yeah, it is my house.
Yeah, so they actually have the painting and also a print of it in the home, and it's really pretty.
It is.
So it would just be awesome to wake up in the bedroom and open your eyes and open the shades, and you're looking at the lake.
Yeah.
And the back patio they did enclose, and so they have a really nice back patio as well, looking out over the lake.
Mm-hmm.
So very, very cool. Okay, our third stop is the Armco Faro House at 251 Lakefront Drive. And architect Robert Smith Jr. of Cleveland designed the all-metal Armco Faro House with walls, floors, and roof constructed of corrugated steel panels. Porcelain enamel panels clad the exterior, and they attached the walls using stainless steel channels. The sponsors included American Rolling Mill Company and the Faro Enamel Company, which touted this to have a maintenance-free exterior, and you can say farewell to the paint can in their promotions.
So supposedly you would never have to paint your house again because of the enamel. However, it did not turn out that way. The original porcelain panels began failing and falling apart pretty early. Today, new siding replicates the original panel design. The corner caps, trim, and windows are restored originals, as are the porcelain enamel panels on the main facade beneath the porch.
Yeah, the house was deteriorating under a leaking roof, and the downspouts channeled water into the interior walls, which wasn't the greatest idea. Um, the Lichtenfelds raised the house to install a new foundation. Oh, the Lichtenfelds are the ones who are restoring it. Um, and there is a full basement that provides living space and additional room for new mechanical and electrical systems.
And apprentices from Ironworkers Local 395 helped to replace the deteriorated wall sections and flooring. The replicated exterior panels are stainless steel, and that does not suffer the rust that attacked the bottom edges of the original panels. And I am lucky enough to know one of the ironworkers that actually worked on this house, and he was absolutely fascinated by it. He said it's probably the best ironworking job he's ever been on.
That's so cool.
It is. It is.
We were able to talk to the owner of this house as well. And in the kitchen, she was showing us where the newfangled dishwasher was. It was not a great design. You had to kind of lift up the countertop like a top loading washer and somehow finagle to lift a whole basket full of dishes up and out of this dishwasher. So it was not easy, and she did not keep that in the home because it just wasn't practical. But that was really cool. She also had photos everywhere of how the house was when they got it, how it was when they took it apart, the iron workers working on it. They had original pieces of the home on display for us to see. It was really amazing.
It was like walking through a time capsule almost, a museum.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
So thank you to those owners as well for being there to talk to us.
Absolutely. And our fourth stop was the Cypress Log and Guest House. This was another one of my favorites, pretty close to the Florida house. I can't decide which one was my favorite. Of course, the Ironworker house was pretty... Okay, I loved them all. Fine. Yeah. Anyways, did I say the address? 231 Lakefront Drive?
Mm-hmm.
So, the Southern Cypress Manufacturers Association commissioned architect Murray D. Hetherington of Chicago to design a fair structure that promotes its product as a building material. It resembles a mountain lodge, and the building was not designed as a house, but it functioned as one at the fair when a company representative and his wife lived there to provide 24-hour security. For the second year of the fair, the association added an exhibit building where craftsmen demonstrated ways to work with the cypress. One of the things they had said about the cypress wood is like the more little holes it has in it, the more valuable it is.
Yes.
And it really added to the character of the house. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yes. When it was moved to Beverly Shores, the larger building became a home, and the smaller structure functioned as a guest house. And the people that live there now are Flint and Jamie Alm, and they own St. John Plumbing in nearby St. John, Indiana. They have construction experience that helped them design the restoration, which was approved by the Indiana Landmarks and the Indiana Division of Historic Preservation and Archaeology, as well as the National Park Service. They were allowed to link the main home to the guest house, and so now they can be there year-round. They don't have to walk out the door to go to their bedrooms.
Right. The Alms did lift the main house to create a new foundation and basement. Again, these homes were plopped without a foundation, so it was pretty necessary. They sourced the cypress logs to recreate missing elements and replaced the deteriorated roof with cedar shingles, replicating the original design of undulating shingles. This home is just so beautiful because I just love the natural setting.
Yeah.
The birds, the native plants.
Melts right into the dune.
It just fits so perfectly.
Beautiful. I was very impressed by all of the work that they did. The wood floors had beautiful inlays. The hallway that they built has little stones that you would skip on the lake And instead of being put like they were on a sheet, they're stacked, and it is just so detailed.
It is.
Everywhere you looked, there was just beautiful details, and you felt so much at home in this place. And it's on the bluff, so you can sit in the window and look out on the lake and look at the other homes. It's just incredible. They did such a great job.
Yeah, definitely one of my favorite homes on the tour. It's just amazing. Like she said, the attention to detail is just stunning.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, our fifth and final stop of the tour was the House of Tomorrow, which is at 241 Lakefront Drive. This was the most futuristic thing that they came up with. It had passive solar energy, floor-to-ceiling windows, an open floor plan. It had an attached garage with an automatic door and your very own airplane hangar, because we should have planes.
Well, back in, back
then they thought
everybody was going to have either their own airplanes or we're all going to be in flying cars.
Yeah, so
they included the airplane hangar.
This is the revolutionary design that still feels modern more than 80 years after its display at the fair, when more than 1 million people toured it. The building lived up to its name, setting the direction for nationwide changes in residential architecture.
And it was designed and sponsored by a Chicago architect named George Fred Keck. The House of Tomorrow embodied the ideals promoted by the fair and its innovative structural system, glass walls, stripped-down ornamentation, and use of prefabricated and modern materials. One of the problems that they discussed with the original construction, with it all being floor to glass ceiling, they didn't have the insulation we had today. Like the double pane with the air in between. It was just one single pane. And they said the house would get just unbearably hot in the summer.
Yeah, they could barely take tours through
Yeah, so it was a good idea. In winter it will work, but in the summer, forget about it.
Right. But again, they were trying new things.
Yes, they were.
So when it debuted in 1933, the exterior featured pressboard siding on the first floor. And the second year of the fair, the siding was covered with standing seam copper. After they moved it, the developer replaced the original glass walls with traditional frame construction, copper siding, and operable seal frame windows, because you had to open them so you didn't die.
Indiana Landmarks has partnered with the Indiana Dunes National Park to secure funds from the Great American Outdoor Act to assist in the cost of the exterior restoration of the House of Tomorrow and other historic properties in the park. Right now, this is not owned by anybody. It is awaiting someone to come along.
It's down to its bones.
It is.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
They said at one point they did find a person who wanted to restore it, but that person did not follow historic guidelines, so I don't know they did.
Well, there was a lawsuit, and she lost, so back to square one with the house. The house was very interesting. This is one house I didn't really have a vision for because it's round.
Yeah.
And right in the center of the home is a spiral staircase, so you pretty much had to go in a circle upstairs to get to each room. I'm sorry, I would have just been dizzy and fall.
Yeah. And you could tell where the kitchen originally was because you could see where they had the cleats on the walls for the cabinets. But we couldn't even tell where there was a bathroom.
Yeah, we couldn't tell where you would put a bathroom and which one would be a bedroom or what would be the living room.
Yeah. It didn't have a homey feel. It will be very interesting when they do put it together, because they are partnering with some people to get grants. They are going to start putting some windows in there and different things like that. But it's going to be a lot of work.
But for right now, it's pretty hard to just walk in it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
Just walk in a circle up and down. But somebody's going to have a vision for it. Somebody's going to restore it. It's going to be just as beautiful as the other houses. I'm
Oh, yeah.
sure of it. We just have to wait for the right owner to come along.
Absolutely.
Maybe it's you. Go lease one of these houses for $1 and restore it.
Just make sure you have a lot of
disposable income.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so after, we've gone to the houses, just had a few other things that we thought was interesting. When these homes were concocted for the World's Fair, they were supposed to stick to a budget of $5,000 so that the homes could be affordable for normal people, which would roughly translate, I think they said, to about $100,000 now, maybe a little bit more, but
which is pretty reasonable
a
for
reasonable
a home,
amount,
especially for homes of these sizes, because these homes are large.
They're not huge, but still.
I thought they were huge. Of course, I do live in a little cottage, so maybe every house seems huge to me. I don't know.
But I think they said all but one went way over that budget, and I honestly can't tell you which one stayed in the budget because I really don't remember. We had a lot of information that day.
That's true.
The other thing that was kind of neat is they were all doing experimental things and wanting to really look into the future as to what would people expect to have in their homes, what luxuries could we have in an affordable home. And as with anything, we still see this today. You try something new, and you've always got those first people who want to be on the cutting edge of everything. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it fails.
Yeah.
And so some of these ideas failed very badly.
But remember, this is back in the time where a refrigerator where you didn't have a block of ice.
Yeah.
It was innovative. It was like, wow, a refrigerator, we don't have to put, have the iceman come and deliver a block of ice.
Right.
So that one worked out.
And if we don't try new things and fail, we won't find the things that work.
That's
so
true.
It's really cool that not only did they fail, but they're still here.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Whatever may have happened, whatever experiments that they may have tried, the homes are still standing. And they were moved, like you said, by truck and by barge and plopped down on land without foundation. So the fact that these houses survived is just a miracle.
Yeah. So definitely something really cool that is right here in our national park in Northwest Indiana.
And you can visit these homes 65 days a year. You can only view them from the street, but there are informational plaques, in front of each home. And it's just a really, you could stop and see all the houses and do your reading and then spend some time at the lakeshore. It's a great place to spend the day.
And there is parking there too. So, you can park either in front of the homes for a short time to look at the homes, or you can park down the road and actually walk in front of the homes and then go down to the beach.
Yeah.
So check it out. If you're in Northwest Indiana, go up to Beverly Shores. You won't be disappointed.
You will not be disappointed. So thank you for watching.
Stay spooky.